Hi everyone, I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music, gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Now, for those of you who may remember back in season number 3, I got a chance to interview an episode on songs that is dealing with anger, loss, and relationships. And my guest was my paternal cousin, Miss Crystal Bellinger Moss. Now, when I first saw her picture on my Facebook homepage, I thought she was a gospel radio DJ personality. And when I got the response, she says, "No, I'm not." So she was a family counselor. And yes, we did an episode on season 3, songs that is dealing with anger, loss, and relationships. For this season, season number 5, I am continuing that subject on songs that is dealing with social issues. So for this episode that I'm about to air, the episode we're going to do is on songs that is dealing with abuse, child abuse, and domestic abuse. And my guest is Miss Tammy Smith. She is a singer, songwriter, actress, a mother of 6 children, and was once married to her first husband and left her for dead. And she became a domestic abuse survivor. Now, I just want to let you know that this episode was recorded back in August. And yes, Tammy Smith's birthday was on August the 14th. So a special happy belated birthday shout out to Miss Tammy Smith. So again, I'm about to air this episode. So I want y'all to listen and pay close attention to Miss Tammy Smith's testimonial story. And ladies, this episode is for you. So make sure you have your pencil or pen or paper to jot down some notes. And this could save your life. And if you love the episode that I'm about to air, please, please, please subscribe to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. If you love the episode that I'm about to air, please subscribe. Please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. And don't forget to leave a comment on my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. In the meantime, enjoy the episode, and thank you. Welcome to a special episode of the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show. And this lady that I'm about to introduce represents the state of Texas. She is a singer who wrote the song God and a Job, which surpassed over 986 plus streams on YouTube. I got a chance to check out the music video and the audio version, and I got a chance to download the song on iTunes. She is also an actress, a mother of 6 children, and once married to an ex husband who almost left her for dead, and she is a domestic abuse survivor. So, on this episode of the Black Soul Music Experience, we're continuing with bringing you songs with a social message. And on this topic, we're going to be dealing with songs that is dealing with abuse, whether it's domestic abuse, child abuse, all types of abuse. And we're going to talk about that on this episode. So please help me welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. She is a singer, songwriter, actress, and a mother of 6 children, and she is a domestic abuse survivor. Her name is Miss Tammy Smith. Hi, Tammy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and you? Welcome to my podcast. Glad to have you. And I've been trying to get you on for last season, but I know you had to take care of some personal things, and then we had trouble with the Riverside.fm link. And I said to myself, just in case if she has problems tonight, then we're doing old school over the phone. So we're doing a la Walter Cronkite style. So I was prepared for it. So again, thank you so much for being here on the Black Soul Music Experience podcast as we talk about a very serious issue that is not going to go away. And to the ladies out there, this episode is for you. So make sure you have a pen and pencil ready because we're going to give you everything that you're going to need to know. And as always, music has a social message. And this episode is for you. So as always, the world doesn't know who you are. Most of America knows who you are. So I'm very delighted to interview you on this podcast. So let us begin, shall we?
Absolutely.
Now, as I mentioned, you're representing the state of Texas. What town or city were you born in the state of Texas?
Well, I was actually born in Arkansas. So I'm from Southeast Arkansas, a very small town called Monticello. And that's where I was born and raised. And then I ended up in the great state of Texas. And I've been here for 23 years now.
Okay. Now, were your parents in the music industry or did they had 9 to 5 day jobs?
Actually, my parents were not in the music industry. However, my daddy owned a country western nightclub. So growing up, I was exposed to live music and dancing, country, western dancing, all of that. And he's the one that taught me my love of country music. So he raised me singing and learning the classic country, the roots of country music. So that's where that love came from. And he actually named me after Tammy Wynette. So that's how that all really started, that love of country music.
Now, which high school did you go to?
I went to Monticello High School. There's only 2 high schools in town, and that's the one I went to.
And which college did you go to?
I did not go to college. I went to the College of Life.
Okay, so you saved me on the next question, so we'll get on to the next question. Now, who did you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, that's easy. My daddy. Literally, everybody asks children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I really said, my daddy. And they're like, you can't be your daddy. Well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be just like my daddy. And he was an entrepreneur. He owned a lot of businesses. But the greatest thing about my daddy was his soul and his kind heart. And everyone loved him. And he loved everyone. I always say he would have given you the shirt off his back. And I watched him do that many times, be very kind to people. and just always try to help somebody out no matter what. Even if it were hard for him, he was going to find a way. And so that was my hero and my inspiration all of my life. And we were extremely close and talked on the phone every day since I moved away.
Now, how old were you when you started writing songs and singing?
Well, ironically, I just didn't know it at the time. So I want to give hope and inspiration to other people out there. I started writing poetry in fifth grade. And the funny story is it was an assignment for English, and the teacher said, "You didn't write this." And I was devastated. I was like, "Yes, I walked out in the woods and sat down on an old tree and I wrote this." And so she had to apologize to me in front of the class. And that's when my love of writing began. So I started writing poetry all the time. Whether I were happy, sad, whatever happened, I would just pull out this big binder and write poems. And so then eventually, I became a mom. And, as a mom, I put my children first. And so I have to start looking at their dreams and inspiring them and helping them achieve their life goals. So I chose to put all that aside and give 110% to being a mom. And that's what I did, and tried to help them, like I said, find their dreams and who they were supposed to be in the world. So I really did put my entire career on hold all those years. And then it was only after I escaped nearly dying with my 17-year abusive husband that I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Now I can actually be Tammy. And I was actually discovered as a singer on a karaoke video that I posted, and started writing poetry again, which was music. It's just music without, a song without, it's a song without music. And so I discovered that. So all those hidden little talents that I had as a young girl, I always say God has a plan for those things. We just have to recognize that and let him pull that out and use that. And it's all in his timing. So everything in my life had to happen the way it did so that I could use those gifts and appreciate them now.
Okay. Now, what church did you belong to, and did you sing on a church choir?
Well, actually, I came from a family that I never even heard the word God or Jesus. I didn't know anything about God. I mean, I think there was a family Bible, maybe the big coffee table ones, but I really never heard anything about God, church, nothing about Jesus, nothing. And I tell this story often. I was 4 years old, and I was outside at night looking up at the stars, and I was like, I know that you're out there, and I know that you're God. And he said, I am, and you're my little girl. And that is how I met God personally, under the stars. And so right after that, I wanted to find God. So I literally ran away from home one day and was pulling on the doors of the church trying to get in. And these little elderly ladies saw me, and they're like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to find God. I need to get in here and talk to God. So they took me home, and I wanted to go to church. So I actually rode the little church bus. You remember how a church bus would go around and pick up kids? Mm-hmm. And I actually got on a church bus all by myself every Sunday morning, and went to the Second Baptist Church, and started going to church every Sunday, and then ended up leading my entire family to God. And so my mom got saved, and she started going to an Assembly of God church. And that's the church I belonged to, as a pre-teenager, teenager, all of that. So it was predominantly Assembly of God, just really non-denominational is how, I would view it, because we would visit every church in town. We literally would go to all types of revivals and all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing to experience the different church cultures and how people worship God. I love that.
Was being a singer and a songwriter your calling?
I believe that just bringing healing and light, love and hope is my calling. I believe that those aspects, those talents and gifts that I have, I'm using to do that. So the singing for me is like not my entire mission. It's exactly what I said, bringing that healing, bringing my story of hope and love and light, and really every single day loving somebody out there and letting them know that they're going to make it, that there's hope for them too. And I did want to answer that question though. Um, I didn't actually sing in church until I was an adult, and I moved away and was invited to come back and visit. And they were like, why don't you sing for us? And the first song I ever sang publicly was in church. And it was called I Surrender All by Clay Cross.
Yes. As the Bible says in Proverbs 22, verse 6, train up a child in the way that he or she should go, and when they grow old, they will not depart from it.
Amen.
Now, growing up, who were some of your favorite country singers?
Well, I really love all music. I have a very diverse music palette, but I definitely loved Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, all of the greats, Reba McEntire, and I literally would be on the stage, when the band wasn't playing, because my daddy owned the place. I had access to the lights, and the drums were always set up, and so I'd go in there and turn on all the big lights on the stage, turn on the microphones, play the drums, and sit there and sing, turn on, like the jukebox, and just sing my little heart out. And there was not a soul there except for God, but I put all my passion and soul into it. So I did that regularly.
Okay. And who were your musical influences that had inspired you to sing?
Well, definitely Patsy Cline. I just love her. And I think what I love the most about like those great women is that they were the front runners for country music, because they were still wives and moms. They had many children and they were just doing it with children. And so I admire that. I admire strong women very much so. So like I said, a very diverse musical palette. I listened to everything growing up, every style of music there is, and I still do.
Now, were you one time an actress?
I have, like I said, since becoming free, becoming a butterfly is what I call it, branched out and been given so many opportunities that I never was given before. So I've had the opportunity to be extras in films, and then recently I was cast as a role in an upcoming horror film. So I just got back from Nashville actually 2 weeks ago to play a role in that film that will be coming out later next year. So it's just the sky's the limit. And then, of course, I write most of my music videos. I write those myself and design the storyline. I like to use that creativity, like I said, on every level. And so I usually write out the storyline, how I want it to go. I want it to reflect my life, which is how the songs are written about my life. And then, of course, I'm acting in those as well.
Now, did you one time work at BMI? That's the music publishing to our audience that may not know. Did you work at the offices in New York or Nashville or Hollywood?
Not the offices. I'm a BMI artist, so all of my music is published through BMI.
Okay. Now, you're a mother of 6 children. How many sons and daughters do you have?
I was blessed with 3 each.
Okay. And how long have you been married to your then husband?
Oh, I was married to him for 17 years.
Now, speaking of that, you have been in an abusive relationship. Please share your audience and share your testimony on what really happened.
Well, what I will say is that I was a single mom when I met this man. I was a letter carrier for the United States Postal Service, actually. And I was a single mom of 4. And I had my own home. So I was out here living in Texas, working as a single mom, providing for them, which is a big deal, and it meant a lot to me. And I met this man on my route carrying mail. And basically, he appeared to be a knight in shining armor. He was a wealthier, older man and gave me a huge house, a brand new vehicle, loaded every possible body part with diamonds, and told me that he would take care of me and my children and that I wouldn't have to worry anymore. And so it looked amazing, and he seemed so genuine and seemed to care for me, and even promised my daddy that he would. And I didn't know anything. I was 30. I didn't know anything about red flags at all. I didn't even know what a red flag was. But actually, on our honeymoon, we were in the Virgin Islands at a resort, and his phone started ringing, and he wouldn't answer it. And I was like, you need to answer the phone. It won't stop. Well, it was a woman, and they actually fought on the phone, and he threw his phone in the water. And so I knew then, I was like, something's going on here. But it's like, well, I've married him. I've moved my children into the home. What am I going to do now? And so immediately he was like, I want you to have a baby for us. You have 4. I have a couple. Well, we need one of our own. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so, of course, I always say I'm so fertile, obviously. And I got pregnant immediately. And then when I got pregnant, he was like, you're going to quit your job. And I was like, you promised me I would never have to quit my job. And he said, you're quitting your job. You're going to raise our child just the way you did your others, and you're going to take care of this child. And so I really wasn't given an option. I had to quit my job. And that's pretty much when things started really progressing with the abuse. It wasn't physical. It was the small things. It was me going to meet a girlfriend for lunch, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go meet my friend for lunch. And he said, where y'all going? And I told him. Well, he just showed up. And so we're just sitting there having lunch, and he walks in, and he's like, well, I wanted to come in and meet your friend. And then he laid a $100 bill on the table and said, enjoy your lunch. It's on me. And she was like, that is messed up. He's following you. He's checking on you. He doesn't trust you. And I was like, well, I think he was just trying to be nice. She said, no, Tammy, you need to get out of this. This is only going to get worse if you stay. Well, I was pregnant, 30 years old. I didn't know what to do. I had given up my job. And so that's how the thing started. I couldn't have friends, couldn't go to lunch with anyone. I couldn't work. I was given an allowance each week for the groceries even. And the grocery receipt had to be brought to him. And he checked every item. And if I even bought like 2 bags of chips, he would ask why. And I would say, because all the kids like this. And he's like, well, they need to learn to just eat 1 bag, don't buy 2. And so it really affected every part of my life. I couldn't have music in my home. So for all of those years, there was no music. The only time I had music is if I got in my car and I could drive and sing my heart out in my car. And I remember exclusively one time cooking dinner, and I had music playing on my phone because there was no music anywhere. And I was singing. And I was actually singing Patsy Cline. And he walked in while I was cooking and singing, and he said, that's enough. Turn that off. And I was just like, wow. I couldn't even sing in my kitchen while I was cooking. So it affected everything. And, I was in the marriage so long that there were so many things I didn't realize at the time. I didn't know that it was abuse. So many of us don't know. You just think this is normal. He's just controlling. But it came down to even like my mom came to visit, and he got really upset at her, and she was like, don't stay in this. So my mom and my family that came to visit actually left in the middle of the night to go back to Arkansas in their pajamas. They left a note and said, we're leaving and you need to come with us. And it was just pretty crazy. I was forbidden then to talk to my mom for over 2 years. because he was like, she's going to try to make you leave. So I couldn't talk to my mom. Even my children were controlled. The volume on the television could only go to a certain level. And now, as adults, they tell me, Mom, I couldn't even hear the TV. I just sit in front of it just to try to hear the little show. And so it affected everybody in every way. And the years, go by, and I thought it would get better, as we ended up having two children together. And so I was like, hey, they're getting older. Can I work now? And he's like, no. And I was like, well, can I go to school so I can be prepared to work? Can I go to college? No. All you can do is go to the schools and be there for the kids. You can do the book fairs, PTO stuff, school dances, volunteer at the schools, but that's it. And I expect you to be here and have dinner cooked and the house spotless. And I mean, it had to be spotless. Nothing could be on the countertops. The kids couldn't leave their backpacks out. Shoes couldn't be left out. So I was on eggshells daily before he walked through that door to make sure everything was spotless, make sure a candle's lit and it smells perfect, and, telling the kids, get your backpacks up. And they're like, Mom, and I'm like, get it out of here now. Get it up. And so I literally lived on eggshells constantly, trying to make everything look perfect. And the whole world thought we did have a perfect life. They look at it from the outside like, oh, a nice big house. She's got several cars that are all very luxurious. He buys her nice jewelry and all of that. But I was in a prison, and I would tell him that, I would be like, I can't have a friend over. Why can't we go to dinner with a couple? No, because they're going to want you. They're going to be looking at you. The man will want you. And I was like, they're couples. They're married. They're not going to want me. Everybody wants you. We're not doing that. And so it was very difficult to literally, all you have is your children. But I gave that everything. I was at the school all the time. I took them to school, 4 schools a day, picked them up, brought them lunch, made their lunches. I did anything and everything I could do to just try to show them some sort of stability and love them as much as I could. And that was all I had, was my kids. And I gave everything I could for that until it just started escalating. And it did. And I finally had no choice but to leave.
Now, that's a powerful testimony, and thank you for sharing that. Now, former Senator J.D. Vance says, and I quote, a woman should stay married even when she's beaten up by her husband. I see this on the news every single day, every single night. Every woman gets beat up within 60 seconds. How many times when you hear the lady says, but I love him, but behind that scar, there's nothing to laugh at. And when you see that scar for life, as they always say, they know what's going on. So you can't hide it unless, it really hurts when someone like you who's have something that's going for and always find the perfect one, but then you ended up someone that's kind of like, that's not the one. We always say that, every single day, is this the right person for me? And then you end up, oh, I should have thought about that. I said to myself, that was really stupid of me. But,
Right.
we always have choices. We always have freedom of choices. But we always try to be careful on which one do we want to spend their time with. If that person is in a good, clean up health, perfect condition, or something that we never know about. So that's a powerful testimony right there. And thank you for sharing it with the audience. As I always say, we see it on the news every day, dealing with domestic abuse, child abuse, you name it. It's not going to stop. It's been there for centuries. And
Right.
especially when you have children of divorced parents, that takes a toll on them too, because that's going to affect them when they get older. So
Right.
it's something that's not going to go away.
Right. And I did. I had that mentality of, I have to stay for my children and I have to make this work, you know. And he was so blatant about his cruelty. You know, I would be like, he would say, "Don't you know you married Satan himself?" And I'm like, "How can you say that and go to church with me?" And he was like, "It's just the truth." And he literally would tell me, you know, "If you ever want to leave, you can go, but you're never taking those kids. And then you're going to disappear." And I was like, "What do you mean? You're going to kill me?" And he said, "I won't, but you'll go missing. And you'll end up being underneath the concrete slab of one of my work sites. And they'll never find you. You'll be buried underneath the concrete slab. And I will tell the world you left for another man." And I feared him. I literally feared him. And I had no access to money. So even if I had wanted to leave, I'm given a little small budget just for groceries, even. Everything was controlled. I had no way. There was no way to ever get out. And that made it even harder. You know, I wanted to leave. I wanted to be free with the children. But when you're with a man and he beats you down and you don't even feel like you're pretty or you're valuable, you can't work, so you have no confidence in yourself. You know, that is the biggest tool of an abuser, is to take away your confidence in yourself, to make you feel like you need them, like breath, until he almost took my breath. And that is when I had to get out. And I didn't even know that I had been in so much abuse until I was offered domestic abuse counseling and support group. And that's where I learned the forms of domestic abuse. And that was very difficult for me because they do an intake and you sit and you fill out a form and it asks you, "Have you ever dealt with this, suffered from this?" And there's so many questions, and I went through and I was like, "Okay, yes, I've experienced this, this, this." And there was only one box I didn't check. And I was in a ball on the little couch by the time the counselor came back in. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I just handed her the paper. And she goes, "My God, honey, you checked everything but one." And the only one I didn't check was that he ever threatened to kill himself. He never did. He just threatened to kill me. But she said, "Well, unfortunately, you are the poster child for domestic abuse awareness because you've suffered every form." And we just don't know it. I thought, I had this image in my mind that abused people are like, you know, stuck on some country road, you know, and the man's coming out with a cigarette hanging out and his whiskey and "Get in the house, you know, feed the dogs," or whatever. I did. I had that misconception of what even movies portray as abuse. You don't think of abuse as, "Oh, I have a nice car, so I'm not abused." Well, that's not true. Whenever you're told, "If you wear a shirt that's too low cut, I'll take the car away from you." And I was like, "It's a shirt." And he was like, "There's truck drivers above you that can look down and see your shirt. And if it's too loose or if it's too low, I'll park that car." Everything was controlled. So, you know, my biggest thing with all of it is to never ever judge anyone, because there are all types of abuse. And the number one question I got is, "Why didn't you just leave?" And that is the most horrific question to ask anyone. You don't leave because you can't leave. You really can't. And that is a big thing for me, is to help people recognize the signs and know that there can be help for you. That is my goal, is to speak out on this and tell the forms of abuse and tell the things I suffered, because it seemed small at the beginning, but it just got worse and worse until he tried to kill me one night. So I'm grateful to be alive.
Amen. And you're in my prayers. And I pray that you will go have a better life and something's going to turn around. You went from a negative to a positive. And that's the next question that I'm going to be asking you. And let's talk about GTIT. Now, what does GTIT stands for and what does it mean?
It is TGIT right there behind me. It stands for Thank God It's Today, because I almost didn't get Friday. So my goal and mission is to obliterate the phrase TGIF. Everyone should wake up and thank God it's today. Even on the hard days, even on the days I didn't want to get out of bed, that I thought I couldn't make it through another day, I was grateful that my eyes opened and I got to breathe that morning. Grateful for every little thing after facing death. I'm grateful for a little butterfly when I see it. I'm grateful for sunshine, for what I call glitter water, seeing the sun reflect on water. Every little thing means so much when you know that you almost lost it. And so that is TGIT. I just started using that. I started doing Facebook Lives and sharing my journey of healing authentically. And I was like, if I just touch one person every day through a quote, through a smile in person, through giving some way, even in small ways, just being kind, or doing a Facebook Live and being vulnerable and authentic, even on the days that I didn't put makeup on and cried on camera live. I never know what I'm going to say. There's no script. I just listen to God and share that love and that light and a scripture that He gives me and hope that one soul can be touched. And literally, I've had so many people write me. And one time I literally had no makeup on, and God, I call Him Abba, which means daddy. He said, get on and do a Facebook Live. And I was like, no, I'm not. I have not brushed my hair. I have not brushed my teeth. I have no makeup on. I'm not doing a Facebook Live. And He said, do the Facebook Live now. And I literally talked to God just like I'm talking to you, Sam. I was like, no, I don't want to. And He goes, do it. And I was like, fine, I will do it. Did the Facebook Live. And the next day, a man wrote me on Messenger named Joseph. And he said, I don't know who you are, lady, but I was about to hang myself. And your Facebook Live popped up live. And I'm here because I saw you talking and crying. And I knew if you made it, I can make it too. And I was like,
Wow.
now I understand, God, why you were saying do the Facebook Live. So now I try to obey and just listen. When He tells me to do something, I'm like, there's a soul out there that needs Him, that needs the voice. So I'll pull over on the side of the road and do a Facebook Live. I'll walk out of the grocery store, get in my car and do a Facebook Live. I just have to now. Souls are too precious. And I almost lost mine. I don't want anyone's to be lost.
Well, there's a Bible chapter that I read every day. Is 59th Psalm, and sometimes I read the 5th Psalm, both dealing with prayer for protection and mercy, asking God to get me to my destination safely and get me back to my home safely where I left it. And every time I walk out my apartment door, I always say, Lord, please protect me and please protect this apartment while I'm away.
Absolutely.
Please pray for my neighbors who I look out after and they look out for me. And please protect the apartment complex and get me to where I have to go because you never know
Never.
something's going to happen. And I'm glad you brought up TGIT. So instead of saying, thank God it's Friday,
Right?
and you brought that up, I said, thank God it's today. So I always think about today. And I always read Matthew chapter 6. It's talked about facing a crisis. And just like the guy that was going to commit suicide that was facing a crisis. And it says, and I quote, so don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be thrown in the oven. Let's worry about today's troubles, or troubles is today. And that's Matthew 6,
Yes,
verse
today's worries
34.
are sufficient enough. And truly, like when I share my story, I'm like, The day that I almost was killed, I got up, I ran my errands, I went to the bank, I got some groceries. Everything was just another day, right?
Hmm.
No clue what was going to happen. And so that is very important for me to share. No one, when they die that day, just wakes up and they're like, this is it. This is all I've got. Whatever I've got is the last few moments. We just think, we take it for granted that it's just going to be there tomorrow, but we're not even promised the rest of today. That's how important enjoying every little moment actually is. That's why I stop and watch a butterfly. That's why I stop and look at the sunrise and watch the sunset and look how beautiful the clouds are. Oh, I love the cotton candy look. I literally do that. I stop when I see bubbles, a child blowing bubbles, and I get as excited as they are. I'm like, oh, I love the bubbles so much. I mean, I literally just get excited about everything because all those things really matter. They're important every second.
Now, as a motivational speaker and inspirational speaker, how many ladies, and yes, a couple of guys too, have attended your seminars and shared their testimonies?
Well, most of mine is on Facebook Live. I do that predominantly. However, I'm ready to start moving into getting to the conventions and having those and sharing TGIT and domestic abuse awareness. That is the goal. Um, what Abba tells me every day is you do the what. You just keep doing those Facebook Lives, sharing those quotes, sharing love, healing with the world, and you let me worry about how it's going to happen. So even right now, I'm doing the what, but God is using you as a how to allow me to speak and get this message out. So I thank you for being a how from God. I'm very grateful. So technically, there's millions or maybe multi-millions that have seen or will see a Facebook Live or YouTube video in the future. And that means everything. It's not just for here for now. Once you put it out there, it's there forever.
Yes. Now, while we're on this subject, there's a couple of singers who were victims of domestic abuse. I'm sure we all grew up on Tammy Wynette, with a song "Stand by Your Man,"
Right?
and once was married to country singer George Jones. And when I was looking at the cover of People magazine, and I see her scars, I'm like, what has happened to her? With all of the scars she's trying to cover up, and we see it close up, something is wrong. And when she sings all of her songs dealing with relationships, I mentioned "Stand by Your Man," and
Mm-hmm.
another song she talked about is divorce, or divorce.
Mm-hmm.
That's what always talked about that. And we don't want to leave out Tina Turner, because
Oh,
when she
wow.
once married to Ike Turner,
Chills.
once again the victim of domestic abuse.
Yes.
And then when
She was
she
so strong
divorced,
though for her to, she just branched out. She said, I'm doing this. And she is such an incredible, heroic woman that has shown the epitome of what being a strong woman is. And I admire her so much. And her great legs.
yes, yes, and speaking of that, she was saying, "I want to sing the happy songs. I'm tired of singing all those bluesy. Oh, man did this to me. Man did that to me." So she went out into the '80s and reinvented herself. She had some string of hits from her Private Dancer LP, including a couple of remakes of "Let's Stay Together," "Better Be Good to Me," and her number one hit, "What's Love Got to Do with It?" Number one, and that was her only number one hit on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts back in September of 1984 for 3 weeks. And she won a Grammy for that song. And she had some other songs later, but nothing couldn't compare to that number one hit. So rest in peace to the queen of rock and
Yes.
soul, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 2021, the one and only Miss Tina Turner.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about your song, God and a Job, which I got a chance to check out last year. And as I mentioned in the intro, the song had went over 986 plus streams on YouTube. I got a chance to check out the music video and the audio version, and I downloaded that song on iTunes. So, which you done a good job. So, I
Thank you.
commend you.
Thank you.
So, and you're spreading the love and everything on a positive tip. And also, I got a chance to check out another song, which I'm going to give you the next question. Will you be doing any more songs in the near future?
So my first release was God and a Job, and I wrote that on an airplane and to Nashville. I was going to record some songs that I had written. I wanted to record an EP, which is 6 songs for me. And I had the 6 ready and waiting that I had written. And then I was on the plane and I was writing and I was like, now what's it going to take to be with me after all I've been through? And I was just sitting there and I went, well, you got to have G-O-D and a real J-O-B. And I went, oh, I love it. I grabbed my phone and started singing into my phone. That's what I do so I remember the melody. And then I got my notebook out, which I keep around everywhere so I can start writing the lyrics, and started writing out all the lyrics that I wanted in the song. And it became my female anthem. And I decided immediately when I landed, I said, I've got to record this song first. And it's my first release. It is my female anthem, my standard. You know, he's got to love God. He's got to have a real job. And, you know, no fake stuff. Be real, or we've reached the end of the line. And it became a real kind of country rock style, and I love it. And that was my first ever release, and the crowd and the audiences seem to love it, and it has now reached over 1 million streams on Spotify, so it went platinum, and I'm very proud of that. Thank you, because it's the first job I had after being in that abusive marriage for all those years. You know, it took away so much of my life, but yet now I'm still getting to use the gifts that God gave me all along. And then I released my second single. It's called Lovin' How the Leavin' Feels. And that's also based on the domestic abuse. And just finding myself again. Because it's really hard to not stay in the mindset. You know, you've been in abuse for so long, you get used to the way things are. And here's an example. I was never allowed to go to the gym while I was in that marriage. And whenever I, you know, got out of it, I would still work out at home. I was like, oh, well, I can't go to the gym. And then I was like, but I can. So I got a gym membership and started going to the gym. But you have to untrain the ways that you've become, you know, just a prisoner to, literally. They still are the chains. And you have to learn to break those habits, those thought patterns. And that's not easy. When you've been in it that long, it takes a long time to untrain and retrain yourself to understand, to get your confidence, to know that you're free. And so I've used my music by writing these songs to tell the story so that people can see. Like, I wasn't allowed to wear the color red for all those years. So in the song Loving How the Leavin' Feels, it says, I don't know why it took so long to get the nerve to put my red dress on. That's just how simple it is. I couldn't wear red, and now I'm like, oh, I can wear red. So I buy red all the time. And in the video, we did it really, really cool. In the music video, it was actually filmed in my house, and it shows me open the closet, and there's this beautiful sequin red dress that's waiting, and it's everything flashy that I couldn't be all those years. I got to be me. And whatever that looks like for whoever it looks like, you know, it may not be that, but for me, it was like I felt like this fire that was just full of passion and love God with all of our soul and wanted to share that with everybody. And it's like, now I can do it. I can do it. And I'm going to. With every breath I've got, I'm going to. So that was the second song, and there's a music video. The third song that I released is called Someone to Love Me Right. And I wrote that song based on what does loving me look like? What does loving me right look like? Because I had to figure that out. No more red flags, no more abusive relationships. What does loving me right look like for me? And so I wrote that song because in today's world, they're just in all time, most people, are very superficial and they're looking for that beautiful person, that gorgeous man, that's got the rock hard abs, some gorgeous, beautiful woman with her Tina Turner legs, right? But we can be so superficial. And so there's my favorite line in that song. It says, someone who really gets me and sees the beauty deep inside. I'm not asking for too much, just praying for someone to love me right. Because beauty fades. You got to have a beautiful soul and a beautiful heart. And that's who you want people to love you for, not the superficial. Because there's still the days of no makeup. There's still days I cry, Let's be real. Find someone with a beautiful soul and heart. And that is what being loved right is about. And loving them unconditionally. And so I did write that song and make that music video as well. So you can check all that out as well. And actually, my birthday is in 2 days. And I have my fourth song coming out. And it's called Man That I'd Want to Be. Remember, Sammy asked me at the beginning, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I said, my daddy. So I lost him in 2010. And he was the greatest man I ever knew. And like I said, my hero. And so I wanted to write a song for him so that he is never forgotten. He was loved by so many, but especially me. He called me baby doll. And I'm releasing that song on my birthday in 2 days. So I hope that you guys will check it out and download it and stream it and all of that great stuff. And then I'll drop my EP, which has 2 more songs in a couple more months. So I'll have the EP out there. It'll all be out, all 6 songs, by the end of this year.
Okay. Well, first, my condolences goes out to you in the loss of your dad in the year 2010, and we wish you all the success in the world. Now, here's a question I wanted to ask. Now, since you're going to be having those songs coming out soon, are you be able to collaborate with any guest on any of your songs, or you just going to do it solo?
Well, those 6 were the first that I recorded, and they've already been recorded. So those 6 will be like my debut EP, a self-titled EP, Tammy. And then I'm going to continue writing. Well, I have lots more already written, but I'll continue writing. And yes, definitely want to do some collaborations. Would love that. Especially, I think, with some different genres would be really cool. Like, I love helping people, and I would love to be able to do that as well. Because like I said, I'm not just, a country music lover. I love all music. So I definitely would love to do that. And possibly even like do a gospel song or 2.
Now, here's a question I always ask my guests. Living or dead, which singer that you wish you wanted to meet or to perform with?
Oh, you know who it is. I have to say, it's Patsy Cline. It's Patsy
Patsy.
Cline. I
Yes.
just adore her, and I just love Patsy Cline. And she was lost so young. It was just so sad. But yet, as I read about her and her accomplishments, like she was the lady of country music, the first lady, in my opinion. She accomplished so much in such a short life. And for me, that's very inspirational because that's what I'm trying to do now. I haven't been free very long. So I'm just working every day to do all that I can, as much as I can, and every single day, because we don't know when, just like she got on that plane and she did not know. You just don't know. Everybody was waiting on her, and so that's how I want to be, and that I would love to meet her and write with her. And I'm even thinking about redoing a couple of her songs.
Okay. Now, I'm not a big fan of country music, but so many of her songs have played on many Light FM stations in the NYC, like the song Crazy and that other
Yes.
song. She's got papers, she's got you, those things. Now, here on the Black Soul Music Experience, I always ask my guests who is the top 10 singers of all time. But since I have you, Tammy, we're going to do it a little different. And since this is a special topic episode, we're going to be doing the top 10 songs that has to deal with abuse. Now, here's how it works.
Okay.
We do it like a top 10 countdown, like the show America's Top 10, hosted by Casey Kasem.
Oh,
And we always find out who was the best song ever that was the best radio airplay. Did that song receive a gold or platinum? Or did that artist perform that song, whether it's on American Bandstand or Soul Train or
I miss all
Showtime at
those
the
shows.
Apollo? Yes. And also, did they performed on NBC Saturday Night Live or Solid Gold? Or did they had that music video perform on any of those music video shows across the country or maybe on MTV or VH1? Or did they perform that special on whether it's on CBS or NBC or ABC, or did they had that special on PBS, whether it's on Great Performances, or they had that special during Pledge Month, or did they had that live special on HBO or Showtime? So I'm going to start off with mine and I'll let you start off next. So here's my top 10 songs. Now, I start with number 10. It's called Outside of That, which is performed by the late Bessie Smith. She was a blues singer. And when I was listening to that song on YouTube, it talked about staying with that man forever at the same time beats you. So that was a powerful message. And, it was a blues song, as you know how those blues songs are. It always talks about those hard relationships. So I put Bessie Smith with her song Outside of That at number 10. Number 9, the next song is called I'm Okay by Miss Christina Aguilera.
Oh,
And that
wow.
was from her LP called Stripped. And this song, once again, not only dealing with domestic abuse, but also dealing with child abuse and divorce. So, with Christina Aguilera's situation in real life, it deals with her parents dealing with domestic abuse and filed for divorce. So, you know how Christina has stayed close to her mother, and most of the time, she always asks the father, why? Never answer the question. So I put down that song, "Oh, I'm Okay" by Christina Aguilera at number 9. Number 8, one of my favorite songs, Luca by New York's own Suzanne Vega. Now, that song was dealing with child abuse. When you hear the chorus, my name is Luca, I live on the second floor, I live on top of you, and always trying to figure out what's going on in that apartment or house. And like I said, that song was dealing with child abuse. So I put Luca by Suzanne Vega at number 8. Number 7, Family Portrait by the one and only Pink. And this was from her LP called Misunderstood. And when I saw that music video and song, it talked about parents were getting divorced. And yes, children, you know, has been falling them apart too. So when you see parents going through domestic abuse that file for divorce, it hurts the children. And many children, as you can see, stray away or going through some bad things. And maybe sometime in when they get older, they'll probably say to themselves, why? Why did my parents get divorced? Why did they had to go through so many situations? So Pink is still going strong today. She's happily married, have a child, and she's doing wonderful things. So I'll put Family Portrait by Pink at number 7. Number 6, Goodbye Earl by the Chicks, better known as the
The
Dixie
Dixie
Chicks.
Chicks. Renamed.
And yes, as you know, that song is dealing with domestic abuse. It had cameo appearances by Dennis Franz. We all know him from NYPD Blue and Hill Street Blues, and also Jane Krakowski and also Lauren Holly. So it tells the story once again dealing with domestic abuse. So the Chicks put a good story to that song. So we put Goodbye Earl at number 6. Number 5, Love the Way You Lie by Rihanna with special guest Eminem.
Wow.
And once again, it's the first hip hop song that is dealing with domestic abuse. So, love me some Rihanna and Eminem.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
it
That's
tells
a
that
great one.
story about that one. So, we'll put Love the Way You Lie by Rihanna and Eminem at number 5. Number 4, Behind the Wall by Miss Tracy Chapman. And this is from her self titled debut LP back in 1988. And this was a song that is dealing with domestic abuse and single mothers out there. So it's a hard struggle for them after an abuse, and how can you go on your own. So I put Behind the Wall by Tracy Chapman at number 4. Number 3, Independence Day by country singer
Oh, Martina
Martina
McBride.
McBride. So it tells the story about mother and daughter have to deal with struggles of abuse and everything, and how can they stand on their own dealing with their independence. So we put Independence Day by Martina McBride at number 3. Number 2, How Can You Hurt the One You Love by Miss Cheryl Pepsi Riley. And this is from her LP called Chapters. And this song has to deal with domestic abuse, but then you stay silent. So when people see the face and they say that something is wrong with this picture, you're always saying you love the person, but he still beats you. And how can you hurt the one you love? And that we put that at number 2. And finally, number 1, the one and only Garth Brooks, Thunder Rolls, or the Thunder Roars. And when I saw that music video for the first time, when he plays a husband, comes home, abuses his wife, and then by the end of the music video, then the wife start calling 911 or call that toll-free number to get help.
Right.
And let me tell you, that was the first time I seen that country music video that had that social message. So I put the Thunder Roars or Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks at number 1. Well, Tammy, do you have any of your favorites or any songs that we're dealing with this episode that we're talking about?
Yes, I have a couple that actually like really got me through. And one thing I want to say to everybody out there is, when you do make it out, because I believe with God's help that this is why I'm still alive, is to help bring awareness to this and to help others understand that they can make it. When you do, don't be afraid to ask for help. That is huge for me. Um, I did everything I could do to heal. I knew I had been very traumatized and, just it was very tragic. So I knew I needed healing. I knew I was broken to the max. So I did take the domestic abuse counseling and learn more about domestic abuse. But I also want to encourage people to go to the support groups. There's a domestic abuse support group in every area, every town. They have these free and available as a resource. And even if you're still in your situation, if you can go and you can have that time to go, there are day meetings. Make sure you find a way to go do that, because we were all like just a strong core of women together. Whether we were crying, whether we were shaking, whether some of the women didn't know if they wanted to go home but had to go home. Women fighting for their children, running away states across different states to get away from the abuser. So you really do have someone that can understand in those support groups, and there's no judgment. We're all the same. We're all just a beautiful, perfect soul according to God. So there's no shame or humiliation in what we've gone through or are going through. So I want to really encourage that. And part of that was that we did share songs together. We would say, hey, I got a song for you to listen to. And so one of the ones that really touched me was another one by Martina McBride, Broken Wing. With a broken wing, she still flies. And one day she didn't come back. She got out, and she had a broken wing, and I can relate to that. But she was still going to learn how to fly with a broken wing. And another one this one, like those songs, I hear those, and I can't ever hear them without breaking down. And one of them is Katy Perry, By the Grace of God. Because I need to get a little tissue. Because, there were the days coming out of that when, like I said, there were days I didn't want to get out of bed. And there were days I didn't get out of bed. But there were also times whenever you just don't want to live. You're just like, I'm never going to be able to get free. I'm never going to be able to get out of this. Mm-hmm. And there's a line in that song that really, really touched me because it says, I looked in the mirror, and I knew I decided to stay. I wasn't going to let love take me out that way. Mm-hmm. By the grace of God, I picked myself back up. I knew I had to stay. And I had those beautiful children to stay for. And by the grace of God, I made it. So,
yes.
I want to encourage anybody else out there that's a very touching song. And by the grace of God, you can most definitely make it too. If I did, you can too, because I'm no better than anybody out there. When I'm weak, but that weakness makes us stronger in the end, because it's being vulnerable that actually makes you strong. And that's hard to process, but it is true. Being vulnerable is.
Wow. No, yes.
And I'm going to share this with you, this being very vulnerable. There's a song that my daughter, my youngest daughter, actually had a school project in her drama class. And she said, you were asked to share a song that reflected your life. And she shared this song and said, this is just a song written about abuse, but I lived it. And it's like it was written for my mom. It was like it was actually written about our life personally. And it's called Dollhouse. And it is by Melanie Martinez. And remember I told you earlier, Sam, that from the outside, it looked like the perfect life. Beautiful house, beautiful cars, beautiful clothes, etc., etc. And that's what the song's about. Open the dollhouse. You never know what's going on behind the curtains. And it literally is like somebody wrote that song for me and my children and what we lived. So very, very touching. That would be my number one, because I, relate so much to that. Smile for the camera. You got to be perfect. We'll be the perfect family, but nobody knows what's going on behind the curtains.
Yes, that is true. Now, before we wrap things up, I just want to say a prayer for you.
Okay.
And just pray that everything will be fine. This is a wonderful topic, so let's pray together.
I would love it.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to interview Miss Tammy Smith. You know the pain and suffering has been with her down through the years through her abusive relationship with her then husband. I thank you, O Lord, for given the time out to interview her as she turns her life around, turning from a negative to a positive. Thank you, O Lord, for giving her the opportunity to reach out to some of the victims who've been victims of domestic abuse, child abuse, and any other types of forms of abuse that we see every day. I ask you, O Lord, to be with her, guide her, and protect her as she travels around these 50 United States to bring a powerful message that someone needs to hear and to get help. So I ask you, O Lord, to guide her and protect her and keep her close to you in your loving care as she has a mission to do. The mission is to spread love and share some positive vibes to someone out there who needs help and turn their lives around. I ask you, Lord, to keep her close to you in your loving care. These blessings we ask in the name of Jesus and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And I would like to pray over you if that's okay.
Sure.
Abba, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for the mission and the message. I thank you for the what, but today I want to thank you for the how. I would like to thank you for Sam and for his podcast and his mission. Thank you for speaking to him and him asking me and us being diligent to get this message out. And I just pray that you would bless his mission, that you would bless him in all that he does. Let it all be golden and glorify you and be rewarding to him and to you and to his audience. So I thank you for this great man and for you, Abba, and for our missions and for the opportunities that you have given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for taking the time out to be with me. Now, before we go, you already mentioned your songs, God in the Job, and many other songs. Where can we follow you on social media?
Everywhere. The best thing to do is to Google TGIT Tammy, Tammy. If you just Google TGIT Tammy, you'll find me everywhere. My music is on every music platform available. I go by my stage name is just Tammy, Tammy. You can also find my website is tgittammy.com, and that will lead you to all social media. I'm on Facebook, Facebook fan page, regular, Instagram, Threads, X, Twitter, and TikTok. So you can find me on everything. Just Google TGIT Tammy or go on over to my website, tgittammy.com.
Okay. Download all of the songs with a social message that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. Make sure you follow Miss Tammy Smith. Look for her, TGIT Tammy. Go to Google. You can look for her. Check out all of her videos available now on YouTube. Check out all of her songs right now on Spotify and also on iTunes. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And ladies, I hope you've been listening. I hope you've been paying attention. I hope you've been writing down some notes from my guests that I've interviewed on my podcast. We all know that domestic abuse is real. So please do not be silent. You have to remember these three words: run, yell, and tell. Those are the three words that you have to remember. So if you're in an abusive relationship, and if you've been listening to Tammy's testimony, remember those three words: run, yell, and tell. If you do all those three things, you will come out victorious. And please get help. Make sure you follow Miss Tammy Smith. She has her GTIT, and she'll be traveling anywhere, everywhere to
Yes.
a town or state near you.
If
So,
anybody
ladies,
needs me to speak, I will be there. You just contact me. I'll be there.
yes, you heard her, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not be silent.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out this episode, please subscribe by going to the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget to add the S at the end, -studio. And yes, I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you have a hard time getting on to Riverside, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Log on to Patreon, use your email and your password, go to the Patreon homepage where you see all of the podcast shows from different creators, and go to the top and make sure you type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Check out all of my audio podcast episodes and all of my video podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on to Patreon, then I will be posting this episode on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, go to the YouTube homepage, and type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. If you love this episode, if you love this podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. And as I said, if you learn a lot from this episode, I hope you'll be listening to what Miss Tammy Smith had said. And remember, music play a part in social issues. So please, let's not be silent. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience. Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience Podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe by going to riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And also check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Visit facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. As always, partying, remember this: reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.